This might be as close as you could ever get to a 2-minute sermon. Might be. Here we have a story about Jesus and the people who traveled with him, his disciples. They had gone to this place to get away from everybody. And what happens? People followed them. Now, if he had fed people before, this story doesn't tell us that. But if he had fed people before, we could say, well, maybe they followed him because they wanted to get another free meal. It's a possibility, but that's not what this story is about. This story is about when Jesus said to one of his disciples, Philip, fix food. Let's get food for everybody. And Philip says, do you see how many people there are here? From the book of Willard, that was. And Jesus says, don't you have enough? And he says, 6 months' wages. I don't know whether he was talking about one person or whether he was talking about all 12 of them. But 6 months' wages would not buy enough food for all of these people to just get a little bit. Remember now, there were about how many? About 5,000. Now, I know we take this story, we preachers have a license to take this story and make it really, really big and really, really exciting. We take the story and we say there were 5,000 men plus women and children. I looked in all 4 Gospels and I did not find that there. All 4 Gospels tell this story. But what it does say is that there were about 5,000 of them. We say, okay, if there were 5,000 men, then each one had a wife, so that was 5,000 more. That's 10,000, right? Check my math here. And if each family there had 2 kids, that's another how many? 10,000. So you got 20,000 people. That sounds good, doesn't it? Jesus is a real magic worker here. He takes 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread. Not big loaves, little loaves. And he feeds 20,000 people. Who couldn't get excited about that? Okay, so that's what we tell the story sometimes, so that it magnifies it and makes it seem like it's such a great thing. But if it hadn't been but 5 people there, and he took 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread and fed 5 people, that too would have been a miracle to me. Because sometimes I'm not willing to share what I have, not with everybody. You know, there are times, and I have my favorite things that I like to eat. And when my kids used to say, Dad, how is that? I said, you wouldn't like this. This is terrible. I've tried it a few times on Beverly. It doesn't work. But at any rate, he takes the 2 fish and the 5 loaves, and he prays about it. And from that, he has more than what? More than enough. More than enough. And then he tells the disciples, pick up the leftovers. And they do that. And now they come up with 12 baskets. So if you have 12 disciples and you have 12 baskets, not only did he have enough to feed the 5,000, he had enough to feed the 12 left there with him. Okay, so that's simple enough. But then it gets even better. This story gets even better. Jesus decides, well, I got them settled down. I think I'll go up here on the mountain by myself and have some peace. He goes up on the mountain. He goes to pray. We don't always talk about how much Jesus prays, but he prays a lot. I think he's praying for the 12 that are with him, because as the old saying goes, if it ain't one thing, it's 11 others. Here we have Jesus left on the mountain by himself. The disciples go down to the lake, and they decide they're going to get in a boat and go across. They start out across, a wind comes up, storm comes up, they're rowing, trying to get across, rowing. 3 or 4 hours of that, and they still haven't made it across. And then they look up and they see Jesus. Well, they don't see Jesus, they see somebody or something walking on the water. Now, I'm still waiting for the day when we have a rainstorm here. And for our children's sermon, I'm going to take the kids and we're going to go out in the parking lot and I'm going to teach them how to walk on water. Yeah. Okay? He gets there, down to the shore, and the boat's gone. He starts, let's just go. We can handle this. And he starts walking on the water. Well, the disciples see him. Now, if they had been my relatives, they would have jumped out of the boat and started stroking for themselves. You know how they do that. They weren't my relatives. They are afraid. And Jesus knows they are afraid. And he says, "It is I, do not be afraid." And just about the time they hear this, they're at the seashore. Okay? Now, if we go back to our psychiatric leaders, they will tell you that anytime there is a problem in life, you have your highs and you have your lows, your highs and your lows, and life goes like that. And every time we go up and we come down, just about the time it gets to the bottom and it gets ready to change and start back up again, things getting better, that's when people say, "Oh, what the heck, I can't do anything about this." And they give up. That's what they tell us, that 90% of the people who have problems in life, just about the time the problem is getting ready to either solve itself or be resolved, people give up. Okay? There's a storm. I'm back to the story. There's a storm on the sea. The disciples see Jesus walking on the water. It doesn't get any worse than this. There's a ghost out there, and we're right here and no help, and we can't get to shore. We're rowing as hard as we can, but he can't get there. It's about to change. And when Jesus identifies himself and they were ready to give up, they are right at the shore. So, wrap all of this up. When things become difficult in life and you feel like you're rowing, trying to get to shore, and you're not quite there, and the storm is getting worse, and you keep rowing and rowing and rowing and rowing, that's the time that you don't give up. Because just about the time you're ready to give up, Jesus steps in and resolves the problem. Now, if you don't take it from anybody else, take that from your old pastor.